Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the Silmarillion Film Project. This is session number 6 of Season 8, and I am joined today by Ilana Mushin and Marie Prosser from our Writers Room, and we're going to continue our planning for Season 8 today. Today, we are going to focus on Dor-Lomin. So we began with yesterday. Last time, we discussed the tour story, especially the Rian story, really primarily, and how Rian is going to come to die, and how Tuor is going to come to be in the foster care of Anael, the Sinda. And we are, so we got a little bit into discussing the Dor-Lomin situation and looking forward to continuing. I almost said completing that, but that always seems like such a rash prediction to make. Continuing the discussion of Dor-Lomin and the Easterlings and Morrowind and Iron and the boys and everything else that's going on there. So that is our agenda for today. Before we get started, however, a few announcements. The primary announcement that I would like to make is at the very top of the page. Mythmoot 13. The early bird registration price for Mythmoot 13 expires in just a couple days, 2 days to be exact. Saturday night, in the middle of Saturday night, it will be gone. So if you are thinking and hoping to plan to come to Mythmoot this year, I strongly encourage you to get your registration tickets now while the early bird pricing lasts. Keep in mind that when you do click through on BlackBerry, that is blackberry.signumuniversity.org, to the Mythmoot 13 entry under our events, you will see that you have the option both to register for the event and also to get your lodging. You'll be reserving and paying for your lodging right there in BlackBerry this year, which is new and rather convenient. However, you don't have to do that at the same time. So you can just go ahead and get your early bird registration, lock in the early bird pricing for that, and then you can wait for a little bit. If you want to, you can of course do them all at once. But if you want to space out paying for the lodging and paying for the registration, you can wait a month or two and pay for the lodging later on. But the registration early bird price expires in just a couple days. So make sure that you get in on that, because Mythmoot 13, which is such a wonderful retreat for all things, for Signum folks, for lovers of all things Tolkien and fantasy, it is such a refreshing weekend retreat, locked away from all of the world, in the bowels of the National Conference Center, where you will lose yourself. Like, you will literally not be able to find the rest of the world from there until the end of the weekend. It's one of the advantages of the venue. Anyway, strongly invite folks to that. We got a bunch of other things coming up, including SoCal Moot down in Carlsbad, California next weekend. So that's in like 10 days from now. Looking forward to traveling west again. It feels like just yesterday I was in LA, actually. Oh, wait, it was yesterday I was in California on my way back from Australia. But looking forward to getting back and connecting with folks at SoCal Moot on the 7th of February, and then Sunshine Moot in Orlando on March 7th. Okay, so let us return here to our topic. So let's start. Marie, you've very sensibly begun with a close-up map of Hithlum, which I think is really useful, actually. Let's kind of talk about the geography here a little bit. So we've got... Now, Tolkien's map of Dor-Lomin doesn't really have anything on it. That is, we don't actually see where anything is located within Dor-Lomin.
Right. So, Hurin's house is in that pile of mountains in the south, like on the northern side of the pools of Ivrin.
Right.
That's roughly where Hurin and family hang out.
Okay, so on like the inner downward southernmost point of Dor-Lomin.
Correct.
Right.
So we do know more details than the map provides based on references to
Right.
other things.
Right. This is why they're talking about like taking the mountain passes across to get away down to Doriath. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when we, I believe it was last season, when we discussed the incursion from the north that was stopped by Fingon and Galdor, that took place along the river that comes from the north and goes into Lake Mithrim.
Right.
Like that was one of the points on that. And therefore, the mountains of Mithrim, like the foothills of that drifting out into the north, was, I think, where we placed Anile.
Ah, so I see. I forgot that we'd put him that far up in the north.
Well, I think we put him more or less in those mountains, but he can be wherever we need him to be at the moment because a major war just happened. He doesn't have to like be home
Right.
when the
Or his
invasion
home doesn't have
happens.
to stay in the same place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He can relocate as a refugee
Right.
during this time.
I also would imagine that the main urban settlement in Dor-Lomin isn't that far from Hurin's house.
That's the part that I think we are a little bit more locked into is that the people of Dor-Lomin are centered in the south there.
Right.
But there'd be settlements scattered all throughout. And we didn't necessarily establish how far Huor's house was from the settlement, although we certainly implied it was near enough that you could like easily travel between them. So if Rion is home and very far from where Morwen is, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Well, unless we say Hurin's house is kind of like the summer house sort of thing, as opposed to the urban place of residence. Because I'm thinking, like, it would make more sense to have the main urban settlement to be closer to the mountains of Mithrim, because there'd be a bit of a windbreak there from the winds coming from the north, which I can imagine would be designed
between the two mountains, basically.
Yeah. So
in the little bite there.
Yeah. So I mean, that one possibility is that Morwen retreats to like a country estate kind of thing. So that
well, of course, possible. That's going to depend. Well, we'll get to talking about Morwen's trajectory, but that's going to depend on whether she's primarily fleeing or whether she's primarily leading, I guess I would say, depending on how she's going to respond to the news and to the invasion of the Easterlings.
I feel like the geography can be part of the storytelling for this season, where if someone ends up in an unusual place, there's a story there. Like that's part of what's happening. So with Morwen, what is she doing in Dor-Lomin? If she moves, that's a change in role for her, probably. But figuring out what we're starting with is an important thing to know before we go ahead and change it off.
Yeah. So thinking about the starting place, the first thing I want to be thinking about is the Easterlings. So the Easterlings are shoved in here, right? So we've got Brada and Lorgan being our two surviving generals, since Ulfast, of course, is dead, and both of his sons are now also dead.
Ulfang,
Ulfang and Ulfast, sorry. And
Uldor.
Uldor, yeah, exactly. All
dead. All dead.
Yes, all dead. So Brada and Lorgan are the two generals who are left. And
so is Bor is dead as well.
Oh, Bor, yes. Yeah, Bor is dead as well, of course. And Bor's sons went back?
We killed a couple of them, for sure.
Did we kill them both?
I think we must have, because it would make no sense for Bor to be allowed back and nobody else.
Right, but then again, the Mayaras have to get back there somehow.
Yeah, he had 3 sons, right? And we left one of... Did we leave... Or did he have a 4th one that we left behind? There was some... I forget his entire family tree, but we definitely killed off at least 1 or 2 of his sons in the battle scenes. Yeah.
Now remember that. But anyway, whatever. It's not important. The important thing right for now is that Brada and Lorgan are the leaders of the ones who are here. Right.
Correct.
They're the ones that we're concerned with right now. And the day will come when we will need to think in more detail about who survived and went back east. But it is not yet. So for now, Lorgan and Broderick here. Now, so I'm trying to, I want to think, and again, I want to think geographically as much as anything else about the arrival, what it means. Like, so when we're told that Morgoth put them here and kept them here, how? Like, how did they get here and how are they kept here exactly? I'm assuming, so the battle happens on the Anfalglith. So let's sort of go back, right? You're born Lorgan and your armies, like, congratulations, you've just won the Near Ninth Arnoediad, right? And the last of the elves have fled. You're presumably in the pursuit. The pursuit was mostly the orcs. So you didn't do the pursuit down into the fens of Serech.
No. So the last we saw of the Easterlings, or these Easterlings rather, was a bit of a like funeral barrow situation for all Fang, probably.
Olfang, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Olfang. I don't know whose body they were putting in there, but
Right.
maybe and sons. But
Right.
anyway, there was a bit of a barrow being constructed, and that they were on the Anfalglith.
Yeah.
So they did not pursue south because they were dealing with dead leaders.
Right. Okay. So
in the aftermath.
So there they are, camped on the Anfalglith, which is a pretty inhospitable place to camp a large group of people for any length of time.
Right.
But anyway, there they were. Battle's over. Battlefield right next to them. Their orcish quasi-allies are all swarming down south into the fens of Serech, trying to pursue the Gondolindrim and being thwarted. Okay, fine.
So is this being presented to them as their reward of land as was promised? So is Sauron going to be involved in this?
Right. And is there deception from the start, or is there compulsion from the very beginning?
Right. So we do see Sauron approach them while they're at that barrow.
Yeah.
So we were very much intending to have Sauron be the mouthpiece of what happens next. Usually there is deception involved.
Right. Yeah.
When Sauron offers you things.
Right. I mean, one would think.
Logan's keen for land. I mean, like that. He's the kind of main voice for, we came here to populate this area and so on.
They were kind of hoping for East Beleriand, though.
Right. They were hoping for East Beleriand.
This is going to be the betrayal is going to be that they don't get East Beleriand.
Right. Now, of course, they don't know. Right. I mean, they've only seen East Beleriand and the Anfalglith, so they don't know anything else about the whole rest of the land.
Right. They've spent a tiny bit of time in Dorthonion, so they've seen Ladros as well.
Right.
But yes, that's it.
Right.
They have not been to Dor-Lomin. They were never involved in councils that involve traveling that far to the west.
So,
but also,
it wouldn't.
They're not.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, they see when they come over the Ered Luin and they see the East Beleriand in front of them, they're struck by how unpopulated it is.
Right.
And which it is pretty much. So what's going to be a shock to them is to find a population in Dor-Lomin living there already. I think more than like, is this the kind of fertile land we wanted? Because, I mean, the men of Dor-Lomin have been living there. It can't be that bad. You know?
Right.
But so I was thinking it's more, we didn't know we were going to be like policing like a remnant population of like, you know.
Right. That we didn't sign up to be occupiers. We signed up to get land.
Right.
Is kind of the trick. But even if they know there are people there, the army's gone. There's no army there. Like, so Sauron doesn't have to lie a lot to say that this land is available and there's nothing to stop you from taking it.
No, and I'm kind of wondering, I mean, and it's like, of course, it's the kind of thing that's really uncomfortable to say, but like, it's full of women, right? I mean, like, if they
Yes.
if this traveling army is going to settle down and establish their own lands, they'll need that, right? Like they'll need women, which they don't
Right.
have.
Right. So the question is, how is that presented to them? And
Yes.
how do they find the reality when they get there? Because naturally, the people of Dor-Lomin consider this army to have betrayed the cause of all that is right and good.
Yeah.
And not just well, we were on opposing sides and the war's over now. Not that anyone ever really takes that attitude. Everyone is usually pretty mad about the opposing side in a war.
Yes.
But this is a war that I'm just saying, it's a war against evil, not against not against just
Yeah. I mean, these are the
men fight
allies
these
of the
men.
orcs that are coming in. I mean,
Right.
so yeah, they're going to be very. Yes, they're good. There's yeah.
I was just thinking in the terms of the timing of when the Easterlings came over and became known that they were allied with Galadriel and so on. Would that news have made it to Dor-Lomin? Like, would the people of Dor-Lomin not only see them as the allies of the orcs, but also they came over to be our allies and they switched sides?
Yes, the betrayal's known.
Yeah.
Because there was counsel between East and West before the battle started.
Okay.
Like I'm pretty sure that the whole reason the plague got to Dor-Lomin is because people from Dor-Lomin were meeting with people from the East. So yeah, like somebody from that army got as far as Fingon's palace, I think, at some point in the lead up to the war.
Right.
I don't know if any of those guys lived through the battle. Like, so you could say that no one who survived has ever been in Mithrim or Dor-Lomin. Like, it's possible anyone who did travel there is dead.
Yes. Okay, so I have another uncomfortable question. Is Mithrim full of elf women?
Not that you can find.
Not obviously, but I mean, they would.
Mithrim would appear more deserted.
Would appear more deserted, but like basically,
I think
Fingon's people.
Anil's trick is the trick.
Is the trick
Disappear into the woods. Nobody's here.
His trick is the popular one of the week for sure. Right. So, but there would have been a bunch of like civilian elves who stayed behind.
Yes. Fingon didn't empty Mithrim the same way.
Yeah.
Hurin emptied Dor-Lomin, not because he wasn't dedicated to the war cause, but because the way elven society works is some people are fighters, some people are healers.
Right.
And you don't put all the healers in your army.
Right.
So there's a more diverse group left behind. Still not very many fighters. I would think most of them are gone, and the ones who survived all ended up in Gondolin, not Mithrim.
Right. Right.
So it's also
like
devoid of army.
Yes.
But,
so we could sort of have a sort of montage or some kind of reference for the emptying out of the town around the lake, of the elves kind of dissipating into the mountains and the woods.
Yeah.
Well, it could appear as like a ghost town also. Like if we're watching this from the Easterlings' point of view, they come in and it's just a deserted place.
Well, because it's thinking about this from the Easterlings' perspective that led me to this. Not because I thought when I asked if it was full of elf women, that I thought it very likely that the Easterlings would come in and attempt to claim the elf women left over in Mithrim as wives. The point is, I'm still trying to think about like how they get in. So they're in the Anfagleith. They're going to be brought. We'll come back to the bringing and the deception, but physically speaking, they're going to come in through Ithilcirion, right?
Well, that's a pretty difficult pass to get through, but
I mean, unless there's nobody, unless the doors are open.
Right, and Fingon obviously took his whole army over that pass to get out to the Anfagleith, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably the pass is there. The other option is to go further north in Eredwethrin and come in that way, where the attacks were coming from Angband. Right. So those are the two options.
Right. So one way or another, their first experience of Hithlum is going to be Mithrim.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. unless they come in from the north and just skip it entirely. But why would they? I mean,
Yeah.
if they came in from the north, they would surely end up following the river down to the lake, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
so
like
they would
that
still
is
get
the
to
natural
Mithrim.
path. Yeah. So
Yeah.
one way or another, they're going to get down to Lake Mithrim and the Mithrim. So what I'm thinking is, so you'll remember the. I mean, of course you remember, this is going to be one of the major things that we're going to be discussing when we're thinking of Morwen and her relationship with the Easterlings, is the whole, like, reputation that she gets of being, like, a scary elf lady, right?
Right.
But they have to have some, like, okay, so right now, at this point, their experience with what crazy elf lady means is Galadriel. They have one model exactly for like, scary elf lady, right?
Yes, they've met the Fëanorians, so
Well, a
they have
couple of
some
them, some of them, I mean, yeah,
yeah,
some of them have.
some of the people in the army have had some interactions with Fëanorian elves, but yeah, not a lot. And the leadership is mostly dead except for Rada and Lurgan. So Allfang had a relationship
Right.
with Fëanorian elves,
Right.
and he involved his generals in that, but he wasn't necessarily bringing them into contact all the time.
Right. But on the general level, Galadriel's the only what I'm thinking of, what encounters are they going to be having with elves? Because I would think there would be some. Like, shouldn't they have some? I mean, yes, the elves can disappear and they'd be motivated to disappear, but maybe to more than just disappear. I mean, I would think it would be awkward. Would they abandon Mithrim? Would they even go there? Like, would they be freaked out? Could they tell the elves were there? Would the elves do something to make things uncomfortable for them? Would they treat Mithrim like a creepy, haunted, like, ghost place that they wouldn't dare to go?
I think it would not be difficult for the remaining elves in Mithrim to leave that impression with the invading army.
Right.
So they don't have to fight them.
That means it motivates them not to stay in Mithrim, because why wouldn't you want to stay around this nice lake?
Right.
Yeah.
It's clearly a nice place. And not to mention the fact that, I mean, you've got to think that, like, the towns and, cities of the elves are nicer than those in Dor-Lomin, right?
Yeah. And I don't think the elves who are left behind, even if they aren't an army or trained in that way, I don't think they would have a lot of qualms about, like, murdering everyone in their sleep if a bunch of guys did try to come in and move into the town.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could easily be a thing that would happen. So you could get some ghost story type stuff.
Yeah.
Explaining why Mithrim is not a good place to be.
Yeah.
To the Easterlings.
Things as well.
Yeah.
It could be what?
Booby trapped.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And basically, like, I think that their time in Mithrim, because there has to be some time in order for them to get to Dor-Lomin, they have to at least pass through Mithrim. And again, why shouldn't they, if they're going to settle down there, why shouldn't they start with Mithrim? It's got to be at least as nice, if not nicer. But yeah, so they establish, so one of the advantages of them having these kinds of experiences in Mithrim on their way to Dor-Lomin is that now all of them, not just the generals, but everybody, is all creeped out about elves, right? And so this is what's going to fuel their perceptions of Morwen, right? They don't even have that model of, like, oh, she's a scary elf lady. Again, like, by and large, that's not a paradigm they've got in their heads yet, except for Galadriel. And we planted that seed with Galadriel and her, elvish
Fairy
waves
and drama.
Yeah, exactly. The fairy and drama stuff, which was creepy. Anyway.
Eloquent eyes and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So there were some, and there was enough. We did enough, and we did it publicly enough out in Sooth Barradine that rumors might have circulated about the, like, strange mystic powers of, like, the scary elf lady. So it's. But I think it's not enough, and I'm just thinking logically, like, what would an invading human army, or invading human settlers in Mithrim, like, what would their experiences be like? And I've got to think the elves would do something, right?
Fair.
And that could certainly fuel the suspicions there. So okay, so they come in. But now backing up the other step again, let's get back to Sauron. So it wouldn't take much to tell them, oh yeah, boy, do we have some land for you. You're going to love it. This is 3 times as good as the land in East. You think East Balerion is nice. This is even better. Right. And they don't know. Right. So it wouldn't take much deceiving to try to convince them that the land off to the west is even better than the land in the east. Now, Broda, based on our discussions last time, is not going to like this. He wants land in East Balerion so he can have access to the mountains and stay in communication with the Empire, right? And with the King above kings. So he's not going to, because he will see, like, our lines of communication are going to be practically nil if we go all the way to the west of this continent.
So Sauron's reasoning would probably have to be that Dor-Lomin is available right now. There's no army defending it. They can have it. East Balerion still has an army in it. A fleeing army, a scattered army.
Right.
But
there are still Feanorians kicking around there. Yeah.
Right. Like the army that was pushed back was only pushed back so far.
Mm-hmm.
East Balerion isn't available.
Right. Right.
Yet.
Right.
And if there is some implication that they can have it later, and that's never acted on, that could feel like a deception. Like, oh,
right.
Take what you can now, and yeah, we'll talk about East Balerion when the time comes, and then 8 years later. Yeah. We'll totally talk about that at some point.
Right. What's Morgoth's actual plan with regard to
I was just trying to think that one through. Why does he want them? I mean, he doesn't want Hithlum to become a place of
resistance, right?
He wants to punish Hurin's family and people.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he wants the Easterlings and Dor-Lomin because the House of Hador is there.
Right.
He wants to punish them and make their lives miserable.
And absorb them, ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And annihilate them.
Does this plan come after Hurin defies Morgoth?
I think we're going to portray it on screen that way because I assume we are opening the season with the meeting of Hurin and Morgoth.
This is a vindictive... I think that works, I think, for Morgoth.
I think it works.
To just be vindictive.
Yeah, and
I see no reason why it wouldn't be.
Right. And it's more than just petty vindictiveness, too. Like, the House of Hador has been a legitimate problem. Like, they are a serious annoyance. And so to get rid of them, and of course, it's a twofer. The House of Beor is there, too. Right? So 2 out of the 3 houses of the Edain he can take out. It's clear, I mean, the Fens of Sarek showed that they really can accomplish something, and he really ought to get rid of them. So yeah, I could see him motivated to do that.
Also have the seeds of the future projection, because it is the House of Hador that's going to serve as his downfall through Tuor.
Mm-hmm.
And we're focusing on Hurin and Turin and so on, but actually it is the House of Hador of the houses of the Edain that's going to be most directly related to his downfall in the end. So I don't know how much we foreshadowed that, but that's something kind of lurking. Like, he's not wrong,
right?
To be
right,
concerned about
exactly. And so that's why he wants to destroy the people of Dor-Lomin. Why send the Easterlings in there instead of just sending an orc army in there to slaughter everybody? Because he could do that. And why contain... So, in the published Silmarillion, it sounds as if he's almost punishing them, the Easterlings. As if Morgoth has betrayed them, like, he's double-crossed them. And instead of giving them nice lands that they want, he's put them in this crappy hole in the north and won't let them out of it, is the general impression that the text gives there. And that they're bitter about it.
The idea is if you make a deal with the devil, you never get what you thought you were getting out of it. It's always a gotcha.
Right.
So, I mean, that's part of the story as well, is that, Uldor was wrong. he picked the wrong
He
side.
picked the wrong side. Yeah.
And he didn't even get the like selfish motivation thing out of it. Like,
Right.
it's not just that you didn't pick the right side because these are the good guys and these are the bad guys, and the bad guys promised you something shiny that you wanted.
Right.
It's that the shiny thing that you wanted was not gold.
Right. Right.
In the end.
In the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I guess, again, just trying to think about it, though, from Morgoth's perspective. Apart from just being a jerk, what does he get out of it? I mean, like, he has these, well, I won't say allies, tools, right? Who served his purpose in the Near-Knife, and without whom perhaps he would have lost the Near-Knife, possibly. Why is he going to tick them off by not giving them what they want?
At what point has Morgoth ever shown any particular interest in humans? Or not interest in, but
corrupted. He
went,
right.
That kind of
when he went
sure.
east, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he doesn't mind having humans as, slaves who worship him or whatever. But what value does he see in him, and how much are humans worth towards his final goals? Up until this point, it's been pretty elf-centric. Now, granted, the Silmarillion is elf-centric.
It's elf-centric, yeah.
The narrator thinks that Morgoth only cares about elves.
Right.
But it's possible that that's still kind of true.
Yeah, I mean, he may consider them a weak tool that aren't capable of much. Because again, like, on the one hand, trying to put myself in Morgoth's position, right? What's the downside of saying, all right, y'all, take all Beleriand, run wild.
Yeah, have fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Sack the whole place. That's what the orcs do anyway, right? I mean, he's sending out all the orcs he can to flood Beleriand and destroy stuff. So why not let the Easterlings do it? Why lock them into Hithlum? And I think the answer's got to be that he doesn't trust them, or he doesn't think they're worthwhile. Like, they might turn back and they allied with the elves once before, and they might unrepent of their of that.
A traitor would
Yes.
would also betray the person that they've...
Right. They can't be relied upon, obviously. Right.
And the other thing is, if you put them in East Beleriand, where they have contact with Sooth Barad-dûn, they can bring more armies over those mountains, and possibly Beleriand will get conquered, but for the empire of Sooth Barad-dûn and not for Morgoth.
Right.
So, like, I think that breaking that communication is only a good thing from Morgoth's point of view.
Yes, it's not that they're necessarily a threat per se, like they're going to overthrow Morgoth or something. But
Morgoth, but no, they're not a threat to him. Right.
But it could make things awkward, especially, as you say, if they could communicate with the rest of Sooth Barad-dûn, rejoin with them, get a new general, whatever, get reinforcements and come in. Like, he doesn't want to have to divert his energy towards that. So that would make sense. But
then I guess if he's thinking kind of longer term, like having a human settlement remain in Dor-Lomin, but now it's populated by Easterlings who've married the, House of Hador remnant women, and generations down, now this is going to be a population that's going to serve Morgoth. Right. And all memory of the Edain side of that community will be washed away and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, I like that as a line of reasoning, like basically to say, okay, if I send an army of orcs in, like, look what happened in Dorthonion when he sent orcs in to destroy the House of Baer. It didn't work, right? Some survived. And what came out of that? Baron came out of that, right? Like, so there doesn't have to be a huge remnant for the remnant to become awkward, right? So, like, it can be awkward with very small numbers. So you can't rely on the fact that an army of orcs is going to actually succeed in slaughtering all of them. Some of them are likely to survive and become awkward. But if you can send an army in to settle if you
basically
can,
to colonize
yes,
rather than
yes,
conquer.
Yeah.
Yes.
exactly. If you can make the house the rent, you're never going to probably eliminate the whole House of Hadar any more than you totally eliminated the House of Baor. But you could assimilate it, and if you
Right.
assimilate it, it's more permanently dead, right?
Yeah.
And potentially made into your tool later on.
Yeah. So he could be thinking, you know, in terms of multiple human lifetimes.
Right.
Almost definitely he is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the disadvantage of humans is they just don't last very long. But culturally, they do last longer.
Yes.
And so he's going to think in terms of cultures versus individuals.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the scattered, or at least less centralized House of Halath, which is all that would be left after he assimilates Dor-Lomin, could then be stomped out by the orcs that are sweeping. That would be the most efficient way, because again, they're scattered around and hard to find and all that sort of thing. So,
well, and they haven't been that much of a problem.
no,
really.
no, they're not. They're not as much on his radar screen anyway. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I was going to say Sauron knows about Halath and Halath's people, but I'm not sure Morgoth cares about the House of Halath.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. No, they wouldn't have come very strongly up against him. Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. So there are several goals that he accomplishes. He accomplishes the separation of the separation of the Easterlings from their reinforcements, so as to prevent them turning against him and becoming awkward. There's only so much they could do from Hithlum, because they're cut off from the rest of their people. Whereas if they were enabled to go east, even into East Beleriand, or if they were to go back across the mountains, they could reinvade with another large army, and that would be at least annoying. Like, again, it's not a threat to Morgoth personally. They're not going to take Thangarodrim, but it could set his timetable back, right? I mean, it would. I mean, as we saw, the army of Ulthang was very significant, right? You know, even the elves would have had to take it very seriously, right? So, and the orcs certainly have to take it very seriously. So Morgoth doesn't want to have to fight them if he doesn't have to. And the easiest way to prevent that is to have them, from the perspective of Sooth Beradine, they just vanished. The army vanished. And they don't know what happened to it. And so they're likely to be unwilling to send a second army to throw a good army after a bad, right? And keep so they're unlikely just to reinvade from the east, or at least it reduces the possibilities. And the separated army, now settled down in Hithlum, is not going to be as much of a threat, and they'll be trapped. They'll be localized. He can pen them in more easily, because although they can march out to the north anytime they wanted to. Again, it's just, it is a confined space to put them in, and so he can keep an eye on them. But it also enables him, of course, to accomplish his other goal of assimilating the houses of Hadar and Baor, and yes, and meanwhile, it doesn't have to seem like a punishment to them. Do we think? Alana, do you think Lorgan's pleased? Do you think I mean, we talked about Broda being frustrated because Broda wants to return back. He wants to report back to the Emperor. And he can't. So he can't return to his homeland, and he can't go back to the Emperor, and he is but he is in his own mind establishing a new colony in exile, basically, as best he can. Lorgan just wanted land. Is Lorgan happy with Hithlum?
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying before, like the presentation in the Silmarillion of this being a punishment kind of suggests crap land. And
yes.
I would like, you know, it can't be that crap, you know.
Fingon lived there, so yeah.
like elves like it, and the House of Harder was very happy to live there, and the House of Bale moved there, and I mean, so it's a different climate from what they're used to, and so on, so that there's some adjustment. But I think, Lorgan was a petty general. I mean, he was not Brodder was the kind of next.
Right.
It was more than Lorgan, I think. So I think Lorgan's quite happy to have his own power for himself, to be able to establish a power for himself, which has never been Brodder's, impulse. So yeah, I think he'd be fine with this. He would kind of hand wave it, but yeah, look, we'll be able to connect with home at some point. What are you worried about? Like, let's establish ourselves here first, get this going, and then we can start, building our lines of communication back east. And Brodder's maybe a bit more suspicious about what's going on here.
Right.
But Brodder's more clever than Lorgan is. I mean, Lorgan can't be that stupid because he's a general, but like.
Well, they just need to have different perspectives so that it's not like, yes, we are in total agreement about everything that's happening right now. So it's good to give them different personalities.
Brodder could be kind of suspicious of the motives of Morgoth and Sauron here, and
the dissatisfaction being voiced by him would let us tell the story as it's written.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that has to be the whole story. There can be things they're happy about in their situation.
I mean, I think the women folk is one of those.
It's a plus.
Yeah.
You got to think Lorgan at least has to view this as a real positive, right?
I mean, so are we going to depict him with like a whole harem then?
I was kind of thinking that, I have to confess. I mean, for Lorgan to be like a warlord with a harem, yeah, that sort of thing.
The whole what's stopping him,
basically.
Yeah,
exactly. Whereas the relationship between Brodda and Iron suggests something different from him.
Right, because they're married, so presumably she's at the very least his main wife.
Right. I mean, did we probably
didn't establish.
I was going to say, we didn't really define this culturally, did we?
No, we didn't. But I'm in retrospect thinking we should have, because in my mind, Brodda already was married. He had wife and family back in Sudveridon.
Right.
But we never said that.
These guys, they're old enough that they could very well have. Like, we established that Alfang has grown sons and Bor had grown sons that were with them in the army. It's possible either Lorgan or Brodda also had a wife and kids. Yeah.
So I mean, we can retrospectively establish that having more than one wife isn't a countercultural, particularly in the,
or I mean,
or they've got to go start all over again.
Right. I mean, it is my general understanding, for instance, although it was not legal to have more than one wife in Roman culture, but it's my understanding that Roman soldiers operating in a colonial army far afield from Rome for a decade or something would often set up a separate establishment there.
Well, it could be like that, yeah.
I mean, again, it's not like it was a culture where polygamy was legal or normalized, but yet that kind of practice
under
I think
was
not unusual. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that works then. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Now that's not the same thing as having a harem, of course.
No, that's why I was wondering if Lorgan was gonna just go crazy.
Right.
Because you said if his idea was, oh boy, I get to be in charge of something and make my own rules. How many new rules is he making?
Yeah, and actually I wouldn't mind it if Lorgan, that is, were really branching out on his own. Right. That is, if Brodda kind of were looking at Lorgan and saying, like, thinking,
what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is not,
Yeah.
you're not behaving like a Soothbaradin, general anymore. And Lorgan being like, nope, I'm not. Now I'm like a barbarian warlord because that's all there is here. Right.
Yeah. And that would come up if Brada's going to have some kind of conversation with Aaron, when they get married or whatever.
Yeah.
And he could mention his family back home and be like, well, like, this is for here. And, you'll be as much of a wife as that exists here, but
Right.
I do actually have a real wife somewhere else.
Right.
To establish that she's like a second tier, but
Right.
like de facto wife instead of actual, whatever.
Yeah.
So if he has to like work around the situation to be like, well, this is how we're going to work this, and it's kind of outside the rules, but it's fine. And then Lorgan is like, rules? What rules?
Right.
That would be like,
right. And even like culture, what culture? Right. I mean, yeah.
So Brada will be trying to establish Soothbaradin cultural norms in Dor-Lomin. But I think maybe also Brada kind of understands the motivation of Morgoth in sending them there. So the whole kind of assimilation project. And so he's kind of trying to play a very delicate political kind of balancing act, which I think is why he and Aaron end up together in the way that they do. That it's quite a calculated kind of suggestion that they get married.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is what you will be able to do for your people in this role, and this is what I will gain from you being in this position. So,
because he's not thinking, I'm going to assimilate the House of Hador so we can all be loyal servants of Morgoth. That's not what he's thinking.
Right. No.
But he's understanding that they're being brought to this place where there's, where all the menfolk have disappeared, to settle and to establish relationships across the two populations.
Yeah, and he's got to think that whatever he does, right, he's like, the first step has to be assimilating the House of Hador. If he's going to, like, he doesn't want Morgoth to send an army of orcs in to fight them. But at the same time, he wants to go home, and his best chance of doing that is building his own power base, which he can only do by doing the thing that Morgoth wants him to do, at first. So, So yes, I agree. He would be totally complicit with the assimilation plan, even if for his own ends.
right.
This leads me to a general question about Brada. How sympathetic do we want Brada to be? Do we like Brada? Do we? Because we could play it that way. We could. Because basically, the killing of Brada by Turin could be a tragedy.
So, yes, the deal is nothing Turin does is good.
Right. Right.
So anything he does, even if it's seemingly okay, is like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have done that, buddy. And with Cyrus is a complete jerk.
Right.
But he didn't necessarily deserve to die for being a complete jerk.
Right.
I mean, so it's the type of thing of like, yeah, you're pardoned, but like, what the? Why?
Right.
And so with Brada, I feel like Turin is feeling, I have done the right thing here. I have rescued my people from this usurper who is trying to assimilate them and destroy our culture.
Right.
So in his mind, he's totally justified.
Right.
Aaron's like, why'd you do that?
Right.
So
and of course, like his own, but even his own thinking there is infected, right? Like infected by his own, because it comes at the moment when he realizes that he was duped. Right. That he shouldn't have come back, and that everything he did was wrong, and that he ought to have saved Finduilas, and now he's ruined everything. And it's in that frame of mind of total self-hatred, right, that he kills Brada.
He's got the image of his mother and sister, who aren't,
right. Right. He was coming to rescue them, and they don't even need rescuing, and so he like takes out. I mean, so yes, like. we could go one of two. I mean, there are many ways we could, but like the two extremes of how we could play it, right, is that Brada is a horrible tyrant, and in fact, it is a sort of deliverance for Turin to have killed him. Or we can go to the opposite extreme and say that, in fact, like, he was the last best hope for the people of Dor-Lomin, because at least he was reasonable and not awful. And Turin's killing of Brada has, like, doomed them to now the, like, unlimited oppression of Lorgan and his war bands. And again, it's not like only those two extreme cases are our possibility, but yeah.
I think Morwen will be unequivocal in her antipathy to Brada. So
yes.
I think
that's a marvelous phrase. Unequivocal in her antipathy. I agree.
Me too. I see zero reason she should feel any other way about this guy.
Yes.
So however we portray Brada, she's going to hate it.
Yep. Totally.
Even if Iron even tries to say, look, you know, this
could be far worse than it is. Yeah.
But I've grown to like Brada personally.
Well, I think that there should be some things that are likable about him, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of negative associated with somebody who comes in as hi, I'm in charge of this army, and this is my land now.
And you're my wife now, and you're the wives of all of my men now. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. He still is an oppressor.
Yeah, the negative, it will be real obvious.
Yes, yeah.
So I think
I'm fine with humanizing him.
Qualifying that to some extent.
Yeah, that's fine. And the whole Turin, maybe you shouldn't have, if we're sharing Brada as having some positive and some and Lorgan is crazy.
Yes.
Or going off the deep end, or just unpredictable, even, or degenerate, just anything in that direction. It's like, ooh, and that's the power vacuum you left with this guy as the alternative.
Right.
So Brada doesn't have to be that good to still be better than Lorgan if we're portraying Lorgan as being really out there.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how far.
We don't have an end for Lorgan. We're not, we have to invent that.
Right.
That's got to be part of the Wanderings of Hurin, right?
Yeah, surely.
Hurin's return has got to be involved.
I feel like we will have space for that next season.
Yes. I think Lorgan is going to be a season 9 problem. But yes, I mean, it means that the Dor-Lomin trajectory, like when we're thinking of the Dor-Lomin story, it really is from the invasion of the Easterlings at the very beginning through the death of Brada. Basically, that's our arc for Dor-Lomin this season. Because after Turin leaves, it's not this season. It's not happening this season. It's next season. Understood. Yeah.
But
right.
Yes.
Sorry.
Season
I'm thinking of this story, right?
Season,
Yeah. Because
exactly.
Because the Wanderings of Hurin are going to start. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Halfway through next season. Never mind. So that means in this season, it's through Morwen's departure, functionally.
Yes. Or tours, yes.
So the Dor-Lomin story gets to a point where Morwen and Nienor leave. So Morwen, at that point, recognizes that's the time for her to go. So if there are various reasons keeping her in Dor-Lomin and not rejoining her son. One of them is Nianor's, her pregnancy and early childhood of Nienor, but it might also be because she sees a role for herself still with her people. If we get to a point where Iron's kind of stepped in as filling that role, and Morwen recognizes that so that she can leave with Nienor, that could be the arc.
And if the main thing this invading army did was marry women against their will, and Nienor is getting to be 14,
I was going to say, it's got to be a horrible time to be to be a single mother of a daughter.
Right. Yeah. The time to get Nienor out is fast approaching if you're going to get her out. Yeah. So I do think that it's both the positive and the negative pressures of what good am I still doing here?
Yes.
Aaron's got this. I don't need to stay. And then...
Right. And safe travels.
And now's a good time because
and it's safe passage. Yeah.
So it means then that for this season alone, with that point, Morwen's departure as the end point, essentially, of this season in Dor-Lomin, we're really looking at not a full like upwards and downwards arc. We're looking at just an upwards arc. Like it's going to end at the comparatively happiest point, right? Like most secure point. Like when she leaves, she's leaving Iron and Brada together, kind of running things.
Secure rather than happy.
Secure rather than happy. I mean, happiness is kind of contraindicated in the whole post-near-night situation. But I mean,
in the Turin storyline,
right? In the Turin story, it's contraindicated. But no, I'm just thinking, like in relative terms, right? It's going to be she's going to be leaving Dor-Lomin at a relative high point for Dor-Lomin.
She has to, because otherwise it feels too much like she's abandoning her people. And
yes,
she took her role too seriously to do that.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I'm thinking. It can't be for her to leave Dor-Lomin as if like things are getting worse and worse and worse and worse until finally she's forced to leave. That's mere defeat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's not the trajectory.
The reason I don't think she's staying in Dor-Lomin is that she's expecting Hurin to show up. I know that the text says that's one of her motivations, but I don't believe it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
they had this whole conversation about leaving.
Yes.
You know, whether she goes to Bethel or Doriath, you know. Like...
Yeah, and the thing is, she's a kind of practical person. I could see Rian being like, I will stay in our home until I die because maybe he survived the war. And
you're
maybe
right.
He will come home to
that
me.
is a much more Rian rationale than a Morwen rationale.
Right. Because the people who do that are people who have missing children.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if a child is abducted or dies, but they never find out what happened, the family never moves. Because what if the child comes home someday? Because you can't leave. That's the only home the child knew. What if they came home and you weren't there? Like, you just can't do that. People whose husbands die in war do move.
Right.
Yeah, you're not tied to that house in the same way as
and
so
she doesn't have any reason
tied.
to think Hurin is not dead.
Right. Unless we are doing the thing where married couples just know that the other person is alive somehow.
Well, that's the kind of impression you get from the text, is that she doesn't believe he's dead.
Especially,
like I said,
right. Especially the again, thinking here of the Barrist version, that is the published Silmarillion version of this story. When they meet again, Hurin and Morwen, and she's just like, oh, hey, how did you find them? Like, it's there's no, oh my gosh, you're still alive about their meeting at all. Right.
Right. That element is not there.
Yeah. But I agree. Well, hang on. Okay. Sorry. So we're wandering about now onto Morwen's rationale. Let me actually.
I think we've got some good reasons why she leaves when she does.
Yeah, I do. I agree. Okay. Sorry. So let me actually, Marie, use the rest of your slides. I was starting with the geography, and that was useful. And I think especially, we don't have to depict, by the way, the passage of the Easterlings through Mithrim. That doesn't have to appear on screen, I think.
Can talk about it later.
Right, but we can get stories about it, like people telling stories about the haunted elf lands, to the east.
Right. Well, as time goes on, we'll get more of Anil's story.
Yes.
And presumably the elves with Anil were part of the guerrilla warfare, supernatural, creepy ghost town situation.
Right. Operation Haunting of Mithrim. Yes.
So,
absolutely.
One question I had in relation to that, if we're thinking about time passing, so news has got to Dor-Lomin that the whole army is, like we saw that at the end of season 7, and then some time passes before the Easterlings actually arrive.
Yes.
How long are we talking about?
Not long.
Yeah, I would think it would.
They kind of spent long in Mithrim deciding that that's a bad place to be.
I think it's got to be weeks, not months, between the end of the battle and the arrival in Dor-Lomin, because they can't stay in on Falquith. Morgoth is going to let them go back to the East Beleriand. So they need to find a place where they can eat and drink. So as an
They're
army,
on their way.
So they'd move them along to the east pretty quickly. I think it would take them a while to get there as an army.
I imagine we'll be opening our Dor-Lomin scenes with the invasion of the Easterlings.
Yes.
From Mithrim into Dor-Lomin.
Yes.
So it may have taken a few weeks for that all to happen. But we're going to start with the point of view of, oh no, they're here now.
Oh no, they're here now. Yeah, exactly. But it does mean the people of Dor-Lomin, like the women of Dor-Lomin, have had a couple weeks to prepare.
Right.
They've heard the news. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the invasion doesn't come for a little bit. Okay, so let's go. I'm going through your actual slides.
Elves may have given them
yes.
information about coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we kind of very rapidly finished Rion's story at the very end of last session. So let me just review to make sure that we're clear on this. She flees, very pregnant, during the invasion. She goes into labor, like while on the run, is rescued by Anael, and Tuor is delivered by Anael and his folks. He's not going to be alone, right? There'll be other elves.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah.
So Anael and the other elves, she gives birth to Tuor with the elves in the wilderness. We had the lovely. I still, the more I've thought about this since, the more I love this. That Tuor is like, raised and sustained by the elves from his birth, right? Right. He's
as much of an elf baby as you can make this human.
yes.
And Anael's in grief for the loss of his own son.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Anael's son is dead, and he now has this human baby, foster baby. We have Rion can be both physically and mentally ill following the birth. She has a complete psychotic break not long after that, and we can have an incident or two of hallucination from her even while she's with Anael and everything, so that sort of he has a way to explain this, but then she has a psychotic break and runs off to look for Huor and ends up at the Hill of Slain. So this I'm a big fan of this Rion story. I think that this Rion story is and I just absolutely love Tuor being I really love the son of Huor being, the son of our Huor being completely nurtured by the elves and raised in, with a totally elvish point of view. That is just beautiful. Thinking of what we did with Huor's character. And there's the other thing that I really like about that, the fitness of that, given Huor's own love of elvish culture, his own, it makes it feel like Tuor isn't being abandoned, right? He is like, this is like, it's practically, this isn't what Huor would have chosen for him. Huor would have chosen for him and his wife both to survive and raise their child, right? And yet, again, but you see what I mean? Like, there's this sense in which, as awful as the situation is, it is awful. If
Huor had to designate someone to raise his son in his absence, if something happened to him and his wife, as you do when you become a parent and you have to pick somebody.
Yes.
He would not have been upset with the choice of Anael.
Right. To think of his son being raised among the elves, by the elves, immersed in elvish culture, with the elvish languages as his native language, right? Like, that's, yes, like, that has to be like a strong plan B as far as Huor is concerned. Or would have been concerned. So this is just what I love, and of course, as a way of sort of foretelling his future destiny, and I mean, even things like linguistically, he's going to stick out when he gets when he gets to Gondolin, right? I mean, he will be a native Sindarin speaker. Clearly, and like his Sindarin is going to be way better than Hurin and Huor's Sindarin, right, when they were there. So on the one hand, he is going to look like another human. I mean, he's going to look like the son of Huor when he shows up, and so he'll be recognized in that way. And they'll have the Gondolindrim, I mean, will have this like, you know, mental shelf to put him on. Oh, he's just like Hurin and Huor, you know, and when they showed up, right? Except he's not. He's going to look and sound like an elf. Like he's gonna. It will be the difference. Even apart from the whole touched by Ulmo thing, he's going to be different. I love that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And he will have been traveling with Veronwe for some time as well. So he, you know, like whatever, like, you know, he's got that period of slavery with humans,
yes,
which is going to help for him. But he'll be able to revert back to his kind of native culture, yes, when he's traveling with another elf.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, his time of slavery is going to be the only time of his life when he's even in company with humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really thought of this way. Tuor has barely met any humans in his life other than his captors, right, and fellow slaves. So for that brief period, those are literally the only humans he's ever met in his life.
After the fall of Gondolin, we can probably do something with like the havens and, yes, the humans come in there and them seeing Tuor as their potential leader, and
right, and Tuor being like, what is this alien species? I don't get these people at all. Yes, and Eärendil having to overcome that, basically.
Right.
And Tuor probably making the choice to make sure that Eärendil is raised with the humans, so that he doesn't have his father's problems.
Eärendil, we're told, his heart is more with the humans. So
yes.
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Somehow. That's a season whatever problem, I know.
Right.
Yes.
But it's important to make choices about characters that will work for them later on, even if we don't have to decide all of that. This set of choices for Tuor's beginning and origin will fit with his long-term story.
Yeah,
so
really well. Sets up his long-term story brilliantly. Love that. Okay. So now we're back to, let's look at your questions in order here. What story do you want to tell with the Easterlings this season? So we talked about that a little bit, but let's focus on answering the questions. So the primary story, the primary story is the two different directions in which Lorgan and Brada go, right? They're an invading army, but, well, sort of. That is, they're an army, but they're not invading as an army because they're not experiencing military resistance. They're an occupying force. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're coming in to settle down. They're not attacking per se. Because this is important, because they're not going to come in with torches and set things on fire. They're going to,
right, because they want to live.
They want to live there. Yeah, they're not there to punish and destroy. So they're going to come in with force, but they're not going to come in destructively.
Right. I'm not sure where the violence is on the spectrum. I agree they're not burning down houses unnecessarily, because perfectly good house.
They want to live in them, yes.
Yes. But I have to imagine it's a fairly violent invasion. And that's the part where it's like,
How much opposition are the survivors of Dor-Lomin going to?
Significant, I would think.
Right?
But not effectively, because
right.
Like, I think that they're highly resistant and very loyal to Hurin and their house, and they've seen that this is a complete betrayal. So I think they will try and resist as much as possible. I think because Brodda and Lorgan know that they're being brought in there to be an to occupy and to settle and to assimilate, I think that Brodda's going to be trying diplomacy to some extent,
Right.
perhaps also ineffectively.
Right.
Lorgan, I imagine, will be more authoritarian and just
Yes.
say, like, like, this is ours to rule, and perhaps Brodda's like, well, we're here to, like, take over, but we want to, respect the fact. Like, I think that he can respect the fact that these are also human people, in a way that Lorgan's. But they've had experience with this in Super.
I was going to say, this is not the first
They've
time.
done this before, and we've talked about the way that, like, there was a scene in Silmarillion where we were explaining the culture to Galadriel, I think, about the way that the empire expands and absorbs and assimilates other societies, so that it has the sort of hostage system where the sons of the rulers go and stay in the capital, but it's those people also have their own autonomy and power and so on eventually, and they all assimilate into the empire. So this assimilationist stuff is part of the Silmarillion way,
which means they've had to deal with this kind of thing before in different contexts, but they would have not necessarily a playbook, but this is what you do when you're occupying territory and they don't really much like that you're there. And this is how you make sure that they don't, like, kill you all in your sleep.
Right.
There's
so it's carrots and sticks. It's for Brodda, he's also, like, he's done this before,
right,
and
yeah, so he's trying to
done this successfully and expanded his empire, and like the people of Bor presumably at some point were conquered by and have become part of the empire, but not not in the inner. They have some autonomy in their own culture. They're able to keep these things going, and maybe that's the model that Brodda's trying to bring in.
Right, that was more of an allegiance. We're under your umbrella, but we're our own people, and that's definitely something that the House of Hador and the remnant of the House of Bayard would want to preserve. That yes, we are our own people, but how do you do that in this scenario?
Right. So
when you've got the House of Hador and Bayard also highly resistant to this, and you've got Orwin, the leader, highly resistant to this.
Right.
So, okay. So the invaders are coming. They know that they're coming. They would have gotten some warning when they're in Mithrim, and they would know that they're coming. Morwen is going to rally the people to fight, right? Morwen is going to resist?
I mean, what do you do when there's an army coming?
That you cannot possibly defeat in the field with women and children.
Right.
Untrained women and children with no weapons.
I mean, some weapons, but very few
weapons,
compared.
Yeah.
A handful of weapons. The point is, nothing that could be prepared for this. And if you're like, well, we're going to fight, are you trying to get yourselves killed? Like,
right. I mean, that's an option, right? To say, like, they will never take us alive,
Right.
And I would think that they'll never take us alive would be closer to Morwen's perspective. Well, basically, what I'm thinking of here is two poles, right? Morwen and Iron. That Iron is the voice of saying, of, like, this sort of voice of realism saying, it's no good, all dying, right? Let's try to make the best of this that we can. And Morwen, I think, would be opposed to that, to the kind of conciliation that Iron is suggesting. Because,
but Morwen's not suicidal. She's got the son of Hurin and a child on the way.
Yes.
So I don't think she's going to be wanting to risk her son's life and the life of her unborn child.
No. I mean, it is difficult. She's heavily pregnant, which makes, rallying troops in the field certainly a challenge in every way. And but, like, what's her play exactly? Like, what is the point?
The thing is, I think there's resistance. I don't think it's we fight.
Right.
And so I don't know what form of resistance can take. Like, they can't do a siege barricade situation where you can't come in here and we're just going to all hide in this.
Right.
What?
Right. We're,
Like,
right.
they
We're going to
don't
wall
have-
ourselves in somewhere somehow.
Maybe it's just uncooperation.
Right. So I think it's more of they prepare what they're going to do when this group comes in and how they're going to respond. I don't think it's an active fighting back so much as we will not hear what they say. We will not do what they want us to do. We will not help them figure out anything. Just we will be the worst people that you could occupy.
Right.
I feel like that's more what
Right.
they
To
have
which
available to
Lorgan's
them.
response is going to be force.
Yes.
Right. He will just compel them by force and subjugate them by force. Broda is going to try to deal with them. Is going to try to, again, he's going to run the colonization playbook. And which is why he's not going to kill Turin. Because that's not what you do.
You keep them as hostages.
And as hostages, and you if possible, you raise them in the Sooth-Baradin culture. Right? That's the playbook, isn't it?
Yeah, that is the playbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Turin.
Yeah, so he's gonna
You want to foster Turin,
yeah,
essentially.
you would, but you'd also want to separate him from his mom, wouldn't you?
He's only 7 or 8 right now. 8, I think. Yeah, he's about 8. So, old enough that you totally could.
Yeah,
Maybe
you totally
give
could.
proximity. So this is not Sooth-Baradin where those people are way out there, and so the proximity works in favor of, I'm going to throw you a bone and not separate your son from you.
Right, because I can't send him back to the capital, which is what I would normally do.
Yeah. Right. So that might be a concession on Broda's part.
Right.
Not, to say, here's the goodwill I'm showing you.
Right.
Is I'm letting you. I'm not going to take your son and have him raised in my household.
Is that one of the bargaining situations that leads to him marrying Aaron? Like, I won't take Morwen's son because I will take this wife who's going to help me.
Right.
Yeah, but I think I want to give Erin some agency that she sees this as a prudent thing to do.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Now, Morwen, obviously, and I say obviously doubly, right? She is doubly obviously the person that Broda should marry.
Yes.
Because she is A, the most beautiful woman in the land, and B, the wife of the former lord. Right? So like that is obviously whom you marry when you come in to establish yourself politically. Right.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that because she's going to freak him out.
She's going to murder him in his sleep.
Right.
You don't marry Morwen when she explains to you in detail how she would like to kill you.
Right.
Or just looks at you weird.
Right. So why doesn't he kill her? Because I mean, Broda's not Lorgan.
He could.
But still, like,
he could.
It like, right? I mean, doesn't it seem like you're the invading dude? There's one of two choices for the former ruling lady of the land, especially given if he learns anything about her, like,
actual role.
Yes, and like matriarchal heritage with the people of Bayor also, right? I mean,
maybe Aaron can convince him not to.
I think she'd have to, because I mean, either you marry her or you kill her. Like, to just not marry her and leave her on her own is stupid from an invading army standpoint.
Maybe Aaron can persuade him that for all her scariness, Morwen has no power.
Right.
She's heavily pregnant. She's got another child. She's like, what harm can it be?
And I would think that Iron would have to broker this with both of them. Like, she would have to also go to Morwen and say, look, if you don't want him to kill you and your baby and take your son, like, this is what you have to do. You can't do this whole, like, I am the center of resistance thing. Because if you're the center of resistance, he's going to have no choice but to kill you. And your baby will die. If you want to protect your children.
Son will be raised by him and
and your son's going to be raised by him. So if you want to live to protect your children, you have got to like isolate yourself from the people. Like you've got to basically not do that thing.
Go into exile without leaving.
Yeah. Basically.
Here we have the summer house idea.
Right. So she becomes like the viewed by the Easterlings as the crazy witch woman living in the woods, right? Or whatever. I mean, that seems to me, and what does he gain out of sparing her, Broda? So I can see how Iron could convince Morwen to basically abdicate, essentially.
Well, it raises Aaron's profile, which is beneficial to Broda.
Right,
That
exactly.
she can step into that role, but she's not going to do it if he just goes and murders Morwen.
Right. So like,
so if he wants a wife who will organize the people and make them not quite so recalcitrant towards this occupying idea,
right,
then he needs to keep her happy. And one of the things she doesn't want is her not quite sister-in-law, but her kinswoman to be murdered.
Her price is Morwen's life. Sparing Morwen's life.
That's part of her price,
Yeah.
And allowing Morwen to keep her son with her.
Yes.
Which could come in, that can come up again later.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to send him away at some point, so it could be very possible that she's convinced that Turn's about to be taken away from her.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's in the text. Like the jeopardy gets greater, and that's
because I mean, like leaving the son of the future lord alive and at large, raised by his scary mom, like that's just like nobody can be that stupid.
You're asking for this guy to come back and kill you later.
Exactly. I mean,
it's not that long afterwards because it's only it's before Nan was born. So
6 months later she sends Turn away.
Basically, so it's not necessarily that something else happens, just that Morwen becomes convinced the end is inevitable. Like he's not going to be able to be, because so like Broda could basically refuse. That is, refuse to not take Turin. He could say, I won't take him right now. Like he's got other things to worry about right now. But he's totally, I mean, so we can even have the conversation between him and Iron where he's like, okay, like I won't kill the crazy witch lady as long as she stays off on her own and doesn't do anything and doesn't cause any, if she causes any trouble, I'm burning her at the stake, like, the next day. But if she doesn't cause any trouble, then fine. Like I won't cause any trouble. But like the kid, like I'm going to take the kid as a hostage. Like that has to happen. Not yet, but I will. Right. I mean, or he doesn't have to explain this to her, but that would totally be his plan. And then it's when that plan is about to be put into effect a few months later that Morwen says, okay, Turin's got to go.
Time to go.
Yeah.
And that's when she's heavily pregnant.
Yes.
So she's not, she isn't heavily pregnant at the time of the invasion.
Yeah. Well, that's, and so, and there's an interesting YouTube suggestion that it's maybe there's some kind of taboo, like he won't kill her because she's pregnant.
Oh, that can be.
Anyway, that like this is part of there
are situations where you stay the execution until the baby's born.
Exactly.
Then kill the mom and
then
take
kill
the
baby.
Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe that's why Morwen's not getting murdered right away.
Yeah. And I mean, he's not going to go on and murder her afterwards anyway. But so that can be part of an ongoing circumstance with Iron. It buys her immediate time.
That deal with Iron about she needs to step back and stop trying to lead the resistance could be after Turn has already been sent away.
Right.
Like that deal could happen after the birth of Nienor.
Yes. And actually, it's even more thinking from Turin's perspective. If he and Morwen are essentially prisoners before he leaves, like they don't have to be in a cell or something.
No,
but like they're
clearly confined to.
They are.
Well, they've got to be able to send the couple of housecarls with
she manages to get out.
Yeah, she manages to get out, and Iron can help her do so. Iron is presumably... But anyway, the point is, when Turin leaves, his memory is Mom is still a prisoner of this guy who's probably going to kill her, right? Like, and so that's his last memory of his mother. When he thinks about how things are with them, and when he's inquiring back, right, and hoping for news out of Dor-Lomin in Doriath later on, it's all about, like, is she still a prisoner? Like, did he kill her yet? Like,
like what happened?
What happened? So he never knows what happens. Now, we will know that by the end of this season, Iron will have arranged for Morwen's, like, permission to go off and kind of live on her own with Nienor, right? The whole crazy,
I do like the Nienor approaching marriageable age as being the trigger.
Of her for her ultimate departure. Yeah.
Just like with sending Turin away, it was I'm not gonna be able to keep him safe here. That's gonna be the trigger with Nienor as well.
Isn't that the case that there is news from Dor-Lomin into Doriath
at
initially?
First.
So Turin does know that, at least in the beginning, that his mother is okay.
Right. She didn't get killed as soon as she had the baby. Which was, now, at the age of 8, he's unlikely to understand things clearly enough to fully understand that, that it's only her pregnancy that's saving her life. But he'll know that she was a prisoner.
Yeah, but just he's worried about what's going on with his family back home because he left them in a dangerous situation, and they were not free to go about their lives when he left.
Yes. But yes, in the end, I say in the end, it's not the end, but eventually, after Turin's departure, and this means after Iron has been married to Brada now for more time, she will have been kind of working on him and showing him the situation. Basically, she will have been working to bring about a comparatively peaceful situation, and will convince him that if he kills Morwen, he's going to undo that. He's going to create a bad situation, and everyone's going to be mad, right?
Exactly. That at this point, that will hurt him, not help him.
So the safest thing he can do...
She had a daughter, not a son.
Right. She had a daughter, not a son. Yeah, exactly. So she and her girl can go, as long as she continues to not cause trouble, she can be tolerated. Again, it's not that this is a good plan, but this is what Iron can convince him is best, is best and simplest for him. And because Iron will have successfully delivered on, like, a largely peaceful part of Dor-Lomin, right?
Yeah.
He's in the south. Lorgan is the north, right? Of Dor-Lomin?
Well, yeah, because if the House of Hurin is down there by the mountains, then we can move him to where we want him to be, because he can be wherever we want him.
I'm thinking he's in the wild north.
Yeah, Lorgan in the north makes sense if they want to split it north-south.
It's also
also for Tour ending up with Lorgan makes sense if that's
the Rainbow Cleft
is
to the north. So if that's how Tour escapes Dor-Lomin, it would be kind of silly if Tour were in the south and he went all the way up to the Rainbow Cleft to get out.
Yeah, and what I like about that also is that it also means that Lorgan's people are totally caging Brada's people in. Like Brada, if Brada were to try to leave at all, he'd have to either cross the mountains, which he can't do in large numbers, or he'd have to go through Lorgan, and Lorgan's not going to let him.
Yeah.
Or at least it's going to be super awkward for him to, right? Lorgan would consider it an invasion, right, if he tried to march an army through his territory. So, so Brada, because Lorgan is established in the north, Brada is completely trapped.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I think that works. That works best. Yes. And yes, Nienor's growth towards marriageable age. Like Nienor hitting puberty is what prompts her to leave. She can't just send. Well, she also does want to go. She's gotten, by that point, she's now been living years in this isolated existence.
Where she's not helping her people the way she
Yes.
considered was her role. Yeah.
Yes. And the last thing that she has. So her leadership role is gone. All she has left is her children at that point. And so the best she can do to save Nienor from being married off to an Easterling, which we could make plans for, right? Like, yeah, it wouldn't be hard to make plans for that. Brodda could have somebody who's going to marry off to Nienor. We're not going to have a whole lot of time to narrate their stories exactly, but
when we come back and spend time with them, these are the things that are going on.
Yeah.
And can be incorporated into a scene. Like, yeah, we don't need to meet the Easterling that Brodda has in mind.
Right.
But Iron can send a message to Morwen letting her know, hey, I think this is happening soon. You know, like it could be on their radar.
Absolutely. So she's going to flee with Nienor. She didn't flee with Turin because she thought she still had work to do, right?
She was pregnant with Nienor and couldn't travel at the time. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, for both reasons, she would stay.
Right. And now both those reasons have gone
away.
Both
those reasons have gone.
And it would be safer for both of her children if she left with Nienor, she thinks.
Yes.
And it is safe for the first time in years. So it's after, for a while, it was just like,
chaos.
That stop, and Morwen is trapped. She can't get through that pass. Now she can. And so this is a window to leave as well. So there's lots of things that are kind of pushing her and Nienor out. And Doriath is the obvious place for them to go.
Right. To try to find Turin. Now,
it's also the place she said she'd go.
Right. Now, as far as what we want to say about Nienor's childhood, if she is living more or less in isolation, that means that Nienor is going to be growing up running like a deer through the woods, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to be, now she's still going to be raised by Morwen. So it's not like she's not a child of the woods. Right. She's not a child of the woods.
She is isolated, and she is having a pretty sheltered childhood because it's not safe for her to be out and about and interacting with people. So she may have friends and companions and stuff. Like Morwen had a household before this all happened. I don't think she's 100% without her household.
There'll be some people, because she had the two old trainers to send over with Turin, and there'll be some other and maybe other kids that have grown up, and
So there might be some people around, but it's a pretty limited, tiny.
It has to be
community.
Really limited. I mean, again, if I'm Brodda, I'm not allowing 25 people to live with her in this establishment in the forest.
Maybe there's 5 or 6 of them. I mean, enough that she can grow her own food and
right.
so on. So Nienor, I keep thinking of Princess Buttercup when I'm thinking of Nienor. And the kind of work that she was doing around the farm, like
right
at the beginning of Princess Bride.
Yeah. Okay. So you're Morwen. You're raising Nienor under these conditions. Right, you're living in this isolated homestead, up in the foothills of the mountains, away from the rest of civilization. Where down in the valley live the Easterling oppressors, and your kinsman Iron, who's keeping things going, and the people from whom you're supposed to be. Anyway, what are you telling your daughter? Like, how is she raising Nienor? What does Nienor know? I mean, obviously, she's going to be telling Nienor about her father and about her brother. Those two things are going to be very prominent in Nienor's mind. But, what does she?
What does
she tell her?
Morwen's Morwen taking on the mantle of leading the House of Baor and seeking the light in the west, kind of.
Uh-huh.
Like, where is she at with that now? I
Right.
mean, God, like
Is she
I have,
raising Nienor to be her successor?
yeah, I
Right. I
mean,
was going to say, for her concept of motherhood, it's probably very much tied with her experience of Emeldir as her mentor,
Mm-hmm.
even though Emeldir wasn't her mother,
Yes.
and that's not what that was. I've got to imagine that's part of how she raises Nienor.
but she lifted up her hope,
Hmm.
and that's been completely dashed.
Right.
So, how is she thinking about the purpose of the House of Baor to lead people to the light in the west and seek that? And she has that, like, we know that that's how she felt before the near life.
Mm-hmm.
She, so I can't imagine. I imagine she's, having crisis of faith.
Yes, I would think so. And how would that be reflected in Nienor and Nienor's raising? You know,
Yeah.
like,
I mean, she knows her Neonor for a start.
right, right.
There's that.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it depends how like on the nose and ironic we want to be with certain things, because if she tries to impress upon Nienor that what makes you who you are, of a child of the House of Bay or a child of the House of Hador, is that you have all of this culture and all of this history and all of this lore that I've handed down to you, and this is who you are, and this is what makes you, and then the girl loses her memory.
She's going to lose her memory, right?
Right.
Yes.
So, like, if we want to lean heavily into the I'm doing everything I can to preserve my people by telling my daughter all this stuff, that could feel tragic later.
Right. Yes.
Except I can't imagine that Morwen doesn't have a crisis of faith.
Yes.
So
That's
yeah. How does she impart the hope of the people that was there
the,
before the?
that's the thing, is I don't think that Morwen's hope is intact, but I don't think she gives it up either. So I think it changes in this somehow. Like, clearly Hurin's war didn't work. Like, that didn't succeed. But that doesn't mean that she thinks that Morgoth will never be defeated.
Right.
She probably still thinks, well, okay, that clearly didn't work, but there's no way that this is how this ends. I just won't be around to see how it ends.
Right.
Because I'm mortal and my life will be over before this changes. Like, we missed the window of changing it in my lifetime.
Yes.
And I don't see a way forward from here.
But that's the wisdom that she's developed then.
Yeah.
So it's even more important that my daughter understand this so that she can pass it on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if her goal as Nienor grows, I think she's going to see more and more clearly that what would be best would be for her to leave with Nienor. Just as, she and Rian came with Emeldir into Dor-Lomin, as, just as Emeldir led the people, the last remnant out of Dorthonion, right? When the disaster fell upon the House of Baor. So now that disaster has fallen upon the House of Hador as well, her leaving with Nienor would still be like her leaving with her daughter.
Remnant.
The tiniest remnant. The singular. Nienor would become the remnant then, right? And the carrier.
Maybe the longer term plan for her is to go to Doriath to pick up Turin, and then to rejoin to seek refuge in Brethil.
Yeah, go back to Brethil. Yeah.
Go back to Brethil, which is the one place where human culture still
exists and is free, and
yes.
So maybe that's
and which she herself will remember from her childhood.
Yeah, and that way Nienor can marry someone in that like that.
Yes.
That keeps the Edain, hope of the Edain alive.
Yes, just as the people of Baor came to the house of to Dor-Lomin and the House of Hador originally.
Yeah. So she ends up staying in Doriath because Turin's not there, and things happen, but. That maybe that's a longer term plan now that Nienor is getting through into puberty and these things need to be thought through and so on.
Yeah. So that strikes me as the maximally hopeful view of Morwen. Now I agree, she is undoubtedly not maximally hopeful since the Near Ninth. I would think that she would still even... How would her lack of hope, how would her damaged hope be manifested? Anger?
I think if your hope is damaged, you dream a lot smaller. So the fact that the remnant is only one person, she wasn't able to save her people. She can only hope to save her daughter. That she can't restart or rekindle the House of Bay or the House of Hadar. She can just rejoin the House of Haleth and at least be free. So I think the dream being so small is how we see that her hope is not what it was when she and Hurin were talking about what led up to the near knife.
Right.
So, but it's also important that we not show her as broken or without hope, because that's not true for her either.
Just turn into another Andreth.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is she's
not Andreth.
She's not, and the final thing that Hurin says about her is that she was not conquered by the shadow.
I was just thinking that same thing.
Yeah. So despite her role being diminished, despite her dreams for the future being diminished, it's diminished. It's not gone.
Right. So
and there's bitterness and anger, but that doesn't
maybe that's the
her.
process that she goes through during Nianor's childhood, though. Like she starts off embittered and without hope, and as she sees her daughter starting to grow, and we can kind of depict this that this rekindles this understanding that hope lies in Nianor.
Right. And in Turin, because of course, like, if Turin gets news from Dor-Lomin initially, she will be getting news from that a messenger between the two of them can talk in both directions, right?
He's getting a good upbringing.
Right. He's being fostered by the king. Like, this is everything she knows of Turin is good.
Yes.
So like he's, this is great. She can, pick him up and they can read, they can, join with other humans who are living free on the other side of the mountains.
Yes. So the extent to which her hope is diminished is that, unlike at the beginning, by beginning, I mean like when she came to Dor-Lomin, right? When Emeldir and she were talking about like establishing a new future for the House of Beor, and we as a people shall recover from the disaster of Ladros and the Dagor Bragalach. She's no longer thinking in those terms. She's not talking about, so she's not seeing Nianor as like her heir of the house. Like, the House of Beor is gone. Like, she's not even thinking about the House of Beor anymore. The House of Beor is gone. The House of Hadar is gone. But her kids can still survive. Like, that's the diminishment. Like, her children, and through them, some memory, right, of what came before, and their heritage can still survive. They will still be the children of Hurin. But it's not. But it's no longer. Again, it's not Emeldir's dream that she.
Oh gosh, I'm getting all these sort of shivers and getting all teary because it just ends so badly for this family.
Yes, this is such a horrible story to plan, because it's just like, how do you set up the most painful irony possible in the ending of it? But yes.
Yeah. That little kernel of hope will not be a kernel of hope.
No,
but that is why, or at least one of the reasons why, that all throughout this we're going to be telling Tuor's story. Oh, look, Tuor.
Yes,
Tuor,
exactly.
Tuor. And then finally Tuor will do something and we're like, oh, great, he's not.
This is in fact where the hope and the light in the west lies.
Yes, absolutely.
And doesn't even know about him.
The first time they see Earendil's star appear is going to be looking westward. So, right.
And whereas, like, by contrast, on the other side, I mean, here we were talking about, like, her raising Nianor as like the repository of the lore and tradition of her family, and the whole time I'm thinking about Nianor's eventual suicide, right? So, I mean, yes, I've been having the same experience, Alana, as we've been working through this. But I think
the idea
think
is that the
works.
audience has to believe that Morwen's hope is possible.
Right.
So Morwen can't hope for something ridiculous.
Right.
Like, we're gonna defeat these Easterlings and reestablish our culture, country. Like, that's not happening.
Right.
But but this like kernel that she can save her children at least, that's a reasonable thing to hope for.
Yeah.
And there's every
It's very
expectation.
a free human society, I think, as a
Yeah,
starting point.
exactly. Like she's looking for something that she can achieve, or at least she could, if Morgoth hadn't cursed her husband.
Right.
And of course, both Turin and Nienor make it into this free human society.
Yeah.
I mean, they do get to Brethel, and
Yep.
Nienor does marry a guy in Brethel.
Yeah, I know.
It just doesn't quite work out how they
Yep.
wanted.
Yeah. So
In
so
related
there is-
news, Turin is also going to become a leader in Brethil. So, you know, like,
Yeah.
yep. Yep.
Yep. All this stuff happens.
All this stuff will happen.
Uh,
Okay, let's stop thinking about that. So,
Sorry.
the final question on this, and we're out of time anyway. Our final question is: does Tor interact with his people at all? No, no, not at all. I mean, except when he's enslaved.
Right. So like from 12 to 16.
From 12 to 16, and even then, I can think like not much. Like I think that he is.
He's not becoming a repository of all the
No.
culture and lore and history of the people of.
Nope, not at
He's
all.
interacting, but not on that level.
No.
Well, and he's, to the extent that he's interacting with people from remnant House of Hador and Beor people, they are enslaved themselves. They're
Right.
not royalty. They're not, they're not Aaron and Morwen type people. You
No.
know, so they're not. He's interacting with the peasantry kind of.
Yeah.
You know.
And their goal is survival.
Their
so
goal is survival, and I think
That's
he's
what he sees.
so. Tuor will know who he is. He will like tell him who he is. He doesn't have to be raised in ignorance of his own identity. He will certainly be told by Anail that should he ever be captured, he should never reveal who he is. So
Right.
he's not gonna.
He can give a false name as a slave.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, he could be curious about, like, he can try and learn some stuff about history and culture of his people from the people around him, but not get very far.
Well, no, because does he know their language? Anail could teach him human language, but he
he'll be
needn't.
He'll be a slave for like 4 years living with these people. He can pick up their language in that time. Also, if he ever got captured and didn't speak the human languages, that would kind of be a dead giveaway that he's not from there.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's going to be obvious. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, Lorgon's perspective, right? They capture this teenage kid. And he's going to speak Elvish. Like, they're going to know this. Even if he knows human language, like, one way or another, they're going to... Like, so, like...
He has an Elvish accent.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. He's not gonna speak it natively, human language. Right. They're gonna be able to A, tell he's human, but B, tell that he has lived with the elves. And so why don't they kill him?
Maybe there's at least 1 or 2 slaves that do speak Sindarin from the House of Hador.
Yeah. But like, why doesn't Lorgon kill him? So they're elves. The Lorgon's people surely are going to be like
fearful of the elves.
Extremely fearful of the elves. And untrusting of the elves. Like they're going to be the boogeymen who live in the woods, right? To Lorgon's people, for sure. To Broada's people too, but even more so Lorgon's people, I would think.
Well, again, if Lorgon's to the further north, then
he'd encounter them more anyway, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He's more on the borders of Mithrim there.
Yeah. But yeah, so maybe Lorgon's all cunning. That is to say, maybe he thinks that because he was raised by the elves, he can be useful in some sort of unique way.
Maybe when he's first captured, some of Lorgan's men are afraid that he's an elf. And
Yes.
they have to like prove he's a human first. Once they realize he's just a human.
How do you do that, by the way?
Yeah.
This is real tricky. It's not an ear thing necessarily.
I say ears, eyes, and beards are the
That's right. Stubble. Okay, you're fine.
He's only 12 though.
True. We gotta wait to
So
see if Stubble comes in.
He doesn't have a beard at this point in his life, I wouldn't think. So yeah, like those are the clues. And elves looking like young men but not being young men, like that's the thing. So I would think that there would be some confusion at first.
Yeah.
But somehow they establish he's human, and at that point, oh, he's just a 12-year-old kid. We can throw him in the kitchen or throw him to go herd the flocks or whatever. Like, we can give this kid a job.
Yeah.
Like, he's not a threat.
I think
at that point.
I think he's not a threat. Like, the more servants I have, the merrier, kind of.
But it is possible he could be thinking, I can use this guy to suss out the secrets of the elves that live in the woods. Clearly, this guy knows that stuff.
Right.
But the problem is that then we're setting Tuor up to be, like, tortured for information or something, or treated weirdly.
Yes. It's hard for me to imagine how Lorgan wouldn't treat him weirdly.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's not just a normal kid. He's an elf kid from the woods. So, like, if you don't kill him automatically to be safe, and maybe they don't. Like, maybe they don't kill elves. So, like, okay, forgetting Tuor for a second. Lorgan's people's attitude towards elves, right, would be one of two things, right? Either kill them on sight and hunt them down where possible, or avoid them meticulously because they might cast a spell on you. Right. So maybe you don't ever kill an elf, because if you try to kill an elf or you do kill an elf, then something horrible is going to happen. Right.
And honestly, something horrible probably does happen to the Easterlings who kill elves.
Right.
Because if it's a guerrilla warfare situation, who are they going to target?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So like, the elves would probably be viewed as, like, objects of superstitious dread by Lorgan's people. And so they would capture Tuor, but then they would be like, oh, but he's an elf kid, and, like, what's going to happen? Like, so again, either you kill him out of hand and hope nobody catches you, which isn't going to happen, obviously, or else you do what? You don't let him go.
Right.
Right?
Because he might go back and tell the elves something.
And they might come after you. But... Yeah. Like, anyway, like, it's tricky. Like, it's trying to figure out, because you don't, but what I can't see you doing at all is just saying, well, let's lump him in with all the other slaves.
So he can start out his captivity as a captive. So he's a prisoner first. And then maybe he is questioned or used as bait in a something or whatever. And then after a certain amount of time, there's no more use for him anymore. And you don't want to, like, just leave him as a prisoner. So at that point, he gets lumped in with other servants / slaves.
He has to be given enough leeways that he can escape eventually.
Right.
So I think having him actually in captivity for a certain period of time,
like actually in prison, you mean? Like incarcerated?
Yeah. So that when he's freed, he's recognizing, like, I've got to play this carefully, like, I can't just try and run away at this point,
right?
Because I'm not in a position to do that yet. But he'd be looking for an opportunity to escape.
Sure. Right. He doesn't know how to get out of Dor-Lomin is part of the trick.
Right. Now the fun detail that we get from the Tuor story about the dogs, his friendship with the dogs, with Lorgan's dogs. That's like, I'm trying to think of, like, what do we know about Tuor's imprisonment? That's about it. He made friends with the dogs, is what we know, right? So that when they tried to hunt him down, it failed because the dogs let him go.
Right. Maybe he is given. So he's given, his responsibilities are at the kennels.
Or, like, one of the things. Okay, so I'm asking myself, if you're a kid raised by elves, how might that uniquely, like, if there's some usefulness that he's perceived as having?
Oh, maybe he knows how to heal animals who are hurt.
Or, like, he's like the animal whisperer, right? So
Yeah.
they would,
Yeah.
he'd be a super useful herds, like shepherd boy, right?
Yeah, or just in the stables, or like there's lots of uses. And maybe the dogs more or less stay out in the stable, so even if he's given like an official task, he still like hangs out with the dogs all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously we don't want Lorgan to know that Tuor is best friend with the dogs, or else setting the dogs after him will be a pretty stupid plan. But that can be
That's
something
the thing,
that
is his job shouldn't be person who takes care of the
right,
dog.
exactly. But he will have an opportunity
But
to
if his job is take care of horses and the dogs are right there.
Right. Yes, exactly. He will have the chance to go and make friends with the dogs. But yeah,
maybe something happens early on in, like, even maybe at the time of his capture, where it's apparent to the people who capture him that he has a way with animals.
Yes.
That is useful.
Right. And it can seem to them like a, freaky magical way with animals, right? Freaky magical elvish way with animals that he has.
Right. I think he should be accused of being an elf.
Yeah.
At the moment of his capture.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And again, it's for, as you say, for a beardless 12-year-old, it's going to be challenging to disprove in a lot of ways.
I mean, maybe it's something that he volunteers at some point.
That he's an elf?
No, that he's human.
That he's human, yeah.
Like even to another slave who passes. I mean, like it doesn't have to be he says it to Lorgan, but like this kid that they thought was an elf actually isn't an elf.
Right. So, but they would take an elf prisoner? If they think he's an elf, they'd take him prisoner?
Well, if the rule is you don't kill them because bad things will happen.
But presumably bad things would happen.
They've never met a kid elf before.
Right.
Like,
yeah, fair point. The elves wouldn't have been breeding for some little time here, given that it's a time of war.
Given everything.
Yes.
They've met an immature elf.
Yes.
So they're thinking, well, maybe we can do something with this that we couldn't do with an adult.
Maybe they believe that elves don't have children. I mean, like, because they've never seen elf children. There may not be any elf children in Dor-Lomin. I mean, or in Hithlum.
In Mithram, there's
like.
I mean, because it's been a time of war pretty much from Dagor Bragollach till now, so 18 years.
Right.
Of a time of war, and Mithram was pretty peaceful before the Dagor Bragollach, so I would imagine there were elf children in Mithram.
Right. And I also imagine that any elf children that there were had been really well protected. I mean, that Lorgan's people have never seen one doesn't prove that there aren't any at all. Right. But still, there wouldn't be that many, and they wouldn't be that young.
Right. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he would be an unusual sight/occurrence.
Yes. Yeah. And, I mean, it can just be a whim on Lorgan's part, too. To maybe it's even a kind of a bastardized version of the take the children hostage kind of situation, right? That Lorgan's, that just sort of strikes Lorgan, and he's like, oh yeah, hey, look, I've got an elf kid. Like, I'm going to raise this elf kid within my household, right? But he's not going to raise him like as his son or anything. He's not going to give him a place of privilege because he's Lorgan and he's a jerk, and he wants to like make himself look big by showing his people that like one of the scary mystic elf creatures that they're all afraid of is a slave in his household, in his kitchens, right, or in his fields.
So maybe he doesn't know that Tuor isn't an elf until Tuor hits puberty.
Yeah. Until the beard comes.
Until the beard starts coming in, right? Yeah. And even then, like, does Lorgan know enough to know that elves don't have beards? Like,
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like. I'm trying to think, like, does it matter if Lorgan knows he isn't an elf at any point?
Yeah. I don't think
at
it
that
does
point,
matter.
He's already a slave,
Right.
and he would keep being enslaved.
Yeah,
that's
we don't.
not going to change.
We're not projecting any kind of complex arc to Lorgan and Tuor's relationship. So yeah, no, it doesn't matter.
So the people around, the humans around Tuor might know that he's human and not elf. But
Yes.
Lorgan might not ever know that. And
Would any of them know who he is?
No.
I don't think he tells anybody.
No, I think he has to use a
He
completely
looks
fake
like-
name, because if he says he's Tuor, everyone knows that Huor was Hurin's brother. So I think he needs to not say his name, and just like Turin makes up names for himself all the time,
Right.
Tuor should make up a name for himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people just take him at his word, and if they didn't know the guy he refers to as his father, well, Dor-Lomin was a big enough place, and there were
Right.
enough people around. Maybe
I mean, they might recognize that he looks like a member of the House of Hador,
sure.
but they won't necessarily say, "Oh, he's the spitting image of Huor, so he must be Huor's son." Or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, and Huor didn't spend his early teen years in Dor-Lomin,
Right.
so
But they hadn't been there for that long.
And
before.
especially if he's way north of where Huor lived
Yeah.
when he was there.
Yeah.
I mean,
right, people would. But I was just saying, it's not like people are like, "Oh, you look just like Huor did when he was 13."
right.
When Huor was
Yeah.
13, he was in
He was
Brethel,
in- right, exactly.
and then he went to Gondolin.
Brethel
So
and then Gondolin. So yes,
by
nobody.
the time Huor arrived back,
Yeah.
he went from being a child to being an almost adult. So
Yeah.
Tuor probably wouldn't be that spit image of either of those. Anyway.
So I think that I don't think that we need to accomplish, because the fact is, like, Tuor's relationship with his people, with the people of Dor-Lomin, is not real consequential for the whole rest of his story. Like,
Yeah.
he's not the champion of his people. He is not, like, that. I mean, he knows the suffering of his people, and he's going to experience that in several years as a slave. So he's going to, the fact that he is escaping out of oppression in order to, then go on to the rest of his story is important. But again, it's not like he needs to be tight with his people and become their champion, because that's not his role.
Being mistaken for an elf rather than one of his own people is enough of that story.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of more
Because when
fitting.
he does leave, he goes and does elf things.
Yeah. I mean, again, these are until, as you point out, he gets to the havens of Syria, and these are the first and last humans he will ever have met in his entire life. Right? So his career has nothing to do with humans for the whole rest of the time, nor does his time as a slave have any kind of like political impact on his people at all. Right? He's just a slave with the rest of them and then escapes alone. So, yeah. So it doesn't have any impact, doesn't change Lorgan at all. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's what we can focus on, is sort of what Tuor is learning, and especially the whole like human, like the reverse of Nellis, as we were describing, right? The human who thinks of himself as an elf kind of situation. Yeah. And we're not spending much screen time with him. Like, there's not very much to develop here. But yeah, I think if he is treated as, like, by Lorgan as the elvish freak, whom he is keeping as a kind of exotic specialty slave in order to boost Lorgan's own, like, standing in the eyes of his people, right? He's 3 times as much of a badass because he's got an elf slave, right? I think that works, and as a motivation and a rationale, and also helping him to get around the dogs and make friends with them. If his friendship with animals is something that, he has the elvish way with all good beasts, right? And so, can speak to them, because everybody knows, horses all speak Sindarin. The Rings of Power has established that very clearly, I think. But anyway, sorry, just a little teasing of our friends at the Rings of Power. Anyway, but yeah, so he has an elvish way with beasts, and that's what he's with the use he's put to. He can be a stable boy. I do kind of like the idea of him being in the kitchens to make him the parallel to Baron with Tevildo is kind of fun. He can spend some time in the kitchens too, perhaps, but honestly, at the age of 12, he's already a little old for a kitchen boy. Anyway, who knows?
And I don't think it's a bad idea to have him interacting with humans. Like, he knows he's human, and I was told him something about his history. He is curious to understand that a bit more.
Yes.
But he's really feeling out of his cultural milieu.
His questions about like what is going on and who these people are so basic that the people he's talking to have to be like, have you been under a rock for the last 12 years?
I mean,
and it's like, well, yeah, so can you please tell me who these people are?
Yeah, it's gonna be weird, like doing the tour scenes, tour as a slave scene. It's gonna be strange. Like he's gonna be weird, and they're gonna think he's weird. Like, yeah, it's gonna be odd, fun but odd. Anyway, I have to run. We're over time, so we should stop now. But we covered a good deal of what we wanted to do. What's next? What do we still need to figure out?
The outlaw situation.
The outlaw situation.
We do need to develop that storyline.
Yes.
And what characters we want to have in that.
Since we're talking about humans, let's carry on talking about humans. Let's figure out the whole situation with the House of Brethel, the Woodmen, and the outlaws. And get that stuff sorted. And then we can both be thinking about both Turin's trajectory with the outlaws and the land of Bow and Helm, and then we can also, of course, be looking ahead to Brethel in season 9 as well, and laying the foundations for that as well, because that's obviously going to be kind of tangentially connected to all of these things.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, let's work out the Brethel / Woodman / outlaw situation next time, and then maybe from there we can move on to Doriath and thinking through the Doriath situation, and we have the general shape of it, but thinking through kind of some of the nuances and details of the, like, Beleg, Mablung, Nellis, Cyros kind of dynamics. Thingol, where's his head right now, and all that.
The extent to which Galadriel and Celeborn.
Galadriel's integration. Celeborn has been there the whole time. So yeah. Lots of stuff to think about there too. Not big stuff, but just to kind of work out where everybody is and where dynamics are right now. But first we'll do the rest of the humans next time. Good. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. That was fun. I feel like we made good progress there. I have a much clearer, especially Morwen's story was something I was like, not sure about it. I'm feeling a little better about that right now. So next time we'll be focused, as you say, on the rest of the humans. Our next session should be in 2 weeks on February 12th. Our 2 week has been like walking this narrow line of availability so far. Today, we've caught today in this almost impossibly small, narrow window that I had to broadcast in. So that's good. I just got home from Australia late last night, and I'm leaving in about 10 minutes to go somewhere else. So here we are, but we made it. All right. February 12th at 4 p.m. All right. Very good. And I will say to everybody, as always, thanks for listening and Godspeed.